Oh, you're here to learn about Aldous Huxley's Brave New World? Well, here's a summary in 3 words. Drugs, sex, and violence.
Annika, as spot on as that summary is, I think they want to learn a little more than that.
Everyone's a critic.
Now take it away, Mia.
Thanks, Bethany. Brave New World is set in a futuristic society called the World State. When the book commences, we are introduced to the Central London Hatchery and Conditioning Centre, and the World State's motto, community, identity, stability.
Those 3 words represent the ideologies of the civilization, as they believe that controlling people's identity and place within the community leads to societal stability.
This world revolves around a scientific method called Bokanovsky's process, which led to the establishment of the caste system. People are genetically modified and reproduced into one of the 5 groups: alpha, beta, gamma, delta, or epsilon.
Members of the 3 lowest castes, Gamma, Delta, and Epsilon, were conditioned to be unintelligent and have a willingness to work tedious jobs for long hours. This was a satirical interpretation of the American dream. Instead of people being willing to move up the classes and the feudal system, they are stuck in their birth.
The B word!
How pornographic!
Sorry, I meant to say generated classes where no one has any desire to move up the societal ladder.
You may have been confused by our reaction to the word birth just now. Here, any reference to the familial bonds is considered horrific. Phrases and words such as oh, father, mother, and baby were seen as worse than profanity.
Most people in the plot are actually sterilized, and those who aren't must take contraceptives. Women do not get pregnant. The government takes gametes from people in order to grow children in incubators.
And on that note, it's time to have a very serious and mature conversation. Let's talk about sex. From a very young age, children are encouraged to participate in erotic play. Sex is portrayed as a fun pastime rather than an intimate relationship.
Georgie, Porgy, pudding and pie.
Whoa there, Missy. I believe what you were trying to say was orgy, porgy, Ford and fun.
Yes, you heard that right. What you just encountered was orgy porgy. A rhyme used to signify sexual interaction between older people. Rather than attending religious services, citizens engage in these orgies.
This rhyme was in fact playing off a nursery rhyme known as Georgie Porgy. This implies that the world state started destroying the innocence of children and everything they know from the day they are generated. This destruction of innocence also includes electrocuting babies. Yes, that happened. To prevent them from liking books or flowers. This occurs later in life so that deltas learn to not yearn for knowledge or nature.
Another important part of these people's lives is their addiction to the drug soma. Soma is taken for almost any situation: boredom, sadness, anger, you name it. This drug sends the user into a dreamlike state, full of incredible hallucinations. It is almost as if it is taking you on a perfect vacation.
This is another way the government can control civilization. When anyone begins to act out or question the government, they must take soma. They're basically trapping their citizens with their own happiness. Because of the appeal of the drug, no one really cares or even notices this abuse from the government.
Few people are actually capable of questioning the government's motivations. One of the few is Bernard Marx, an alpha citizen with scrawny looks. Bernard despises the idea of casual sex and refuses to take soma.
Eventually, Bernard takes a girl, Lenina, on a trip to an Indian reservation. Here they are introduced to a past world, a world where people value family and religion, and they grow up and age naturally. They are born into the world, marry someone along the way, and grow old.
At this reservation, we are introduced to Linda and John. Linda grew up in the world state until she actually ended up in the reservation pregnant. She gave birth to John, who followed the Indians' way of life.
Linda was absolutely miserable there. Soma was inaccessible there, so she used a drug with horrid side effects. Others hurt her after discovering she was sleeping around. She grew old and grotesque.
John, however, accepted this life. He studied literature profusely, followed God, and waited to have sex with the right woman.
This old world they stumbled into was a complete contrast to the world state. They had different ideologies. One thing that was frowned upon in society was glorified at this reservation. They ignored each other, having little interaction.
This stayed true until Bernard decided to take the duo back to the New World in order to take revenge on his boss, the father of John. And after this, the savage became somewhat of a celebrity.
Theresa finds out that the children are taught to be indifferent to death by being given treats at the hospice center.
Linda dies. Don't do drugs, kids.
John goes on a tirade about the negative effects of stoma.
John, Bernard, and Helmholtz are arrested.
John debates with Mustafa Mond, one of the world leaders, about the dehumanization of individuals by erasing history, art, and religion, and how it was an attempt to make the society stable and happy.
Bernard, John, and Helmholtz agree to the conditions of their exile. Helmholtz and Bernard are shipped to an island to live out the rest of their days with other people who have questioned the politics of the world state. This is the last you hear of Bernard and Helmholtz.
John is sent to an island to live out the rest of his life.
He then starts self-flagellating, not flatulating. There's a big difference. As a result, he again then becomes somewhat famous.
He then hangs himself. Many might see this act as an escape from his mother's death and the world around him, but it could actually be taken as a sign of hope. Suicide, although tragic, is an action of free will.
That was succinct. Now, let's discuss John's persona and its impact on the plot.
John the Savage was a dick, let's be real. No, but seriously, being raised in a different society made John feel superior to the others in this new world, since he had access to history and was exposed to a past that was wiped from the general population's mind.
The themes of Brave New World are also evident throughout the science fiction genre. This is particularly evident in Orphan Black, as throughout the show's run, themes such as how far is too far and how science without ethics impacts communities and individuals.
That's all, folks.